What's up, YouTube? Today we're revisiting a couple of things. Kubatons, to be exact, what they are. What, maybe some things are kind of. I'm not going to count. This would be a Kubaton, I think, for sure. Cold Steel sells these in a set sometimes. This is a massive instrument, but very awesome. But I would think of this more as a Yawara stick. Very big one. Here's a Yawara stick, where it's less pointy and more you're thrusting. But, I mean, some people might consider it a Kubaton. This is definitely a Kubaton. This is just like some knotted up stuff I did for fun. You could definitely whip someone in the eyes with that, though, which is why it's there. Also to draw it out of, say, a deep pocket. But so this is more, run-of-the-mill. You've got this coming, this is an aluminum piece, to a very blunt point. And I would say these are two kind of tactical Kubatons. This would be more of an ice pick to me, my little pointer. That have some things in common, some things not. They come to a much more acute point than the red run-of-the-mill one I just removed. This one's a little bit broader, but with it being more broad, and this is steel, you have less of a, you're just not going to be worrying pretty much at all about, like I have to worry about deforming the tip of this, which is why you never see me stab anything with it, because at some point the tip will be very, very deformed. And and then it will be deformed past the point where I'll have to get like a needle nose pliers and grab onto this and push it all the way down. And at that point, it's going in the trash, to be real honest. But yeah, so that's this. This is a more blunted or snubbed point, although it does come to a point for sure. This is a more acute point. This is. This screws off, but I don't know why you would do that. This is steel, this clip, the rest of it is aluminum. This one is kind of a particularly interesting one, I believe, from Tactical something. I don't know, I forget. So, this has this kind of loop, or I don't know what you would call it, but you can definitely twirl this around on your finger. I think it is to make it easier to hold on to while you're applying force, or to get a hold of when you have a glove on, and then you can drive this into various points, or use this and then this. But this is a very tactical, you're going to clip this on the front of your knife pocket. You're not in a totally permissive environment. Say you're in, I don't know, I see, because I hesitate to, use real world examples, like say Chicago, where knives are a no-no, except that the Spyderco Para Mini, the mini one that I have has been on this channel, is legal. So it's kind of iffy if this would really fill that role, but say it did in a place. Let's say you're at a job where people wouldn't think twice about seeing this sticking out of your pants or your flight jacket, or they wouldn't even really trip about this. They would just be like, oh, neat, like a fun tool. This is kind of the other end of the spectrum, where it's giving you the very bare bones with these notches to fit your fingers. This actually is very ergonomic. I don't think that this would slip out of my hand at all. To fish it out of something, I put the 3-leaf Customs glow-in-the-dark sprinkle donut thing, which is very neat and I think is cool, on this County Com, lanyard thing that would also aid me in retrieving it in the dark. But, it's different in that there isn't a super easy way. Like, if you have gloves on, this isn't probably going to be your friend. And, I think it would probably do fairly well in regards to piercing, but like, I think you could put this pretty deep into a piece of fruit and honestly probably pretty deep into a human, head if you had to. Whereas this is going to be more of something that you probably could, but this is going to be more of something that's going to like crack and fracture. It would be equally as destructive, I think, though. And I'm not saying you couldn't get it into something if you needed to. It's just kind of, this isn't going to be something that's easily concealable. And even if you were to take this off, it's still kind of obvious what it is. I think for travel, you were able to screw this off. I put some Loctite on it, so I'm not going to be messing with it. So for me, this is one unit. It's, not something I mess around with. Whereas this, like, you could really, have just this dangling out of the back of your jeans, quickly get this out, have it in hand, and now you're fighting. As far as how to use a Kubaton, I'm not saying I've never taught martial arts. It's just been probably around 15 to 20 years. So, and even then it was just like, cover this class, you're high enough rank and you're not in it, you're able to do this, basically. Not isn't like, oh, this is cool. More of like, utilitarian. Kind of like the same as asking somebody to mop the floor, like this is a duty. But it wasn't frequent for me. I enjoyed class. I didn't really enjoy instructing in class as much as, doing it. I like doing the thing. But let's say for this, the person might see it right away, right? This is not low profile. So they might see it, they might know it's there, whatever that ends up meaning, where say you're fighting, you've got your hands up, it's in a dark environment, they don't really see this, or you hold it like this or whatever, and all of a sudden a shot, like, we talk about gross motor movements a lot and say this circular, we've talked about on this channel for cutting things, talk about this channel for Pacal stuff. All of a sudden now, I'm not saying that you could use this for Pacal, but same with this as well, although it's going to be, they might see it coming. You can now, in kind of short order, like I saw, I think we get too, as far as like mobility and what is the range of something. I watched the other day, George Foreman just knock somebody cold, just dummy him with his walking uppercut that he had. It kind of made me remember, I don't really spend much time in the dojo/dojang anymore at all. I need to get back into it, though. I plan on it. But if you don't know this is there, and you've got your hands up, and you're advancing, and somebody throws some wild haymaker, and you step in, unblock it, and then you plant this on a clavicle, shoulder blade, something like anything, or even if you're deciding, all right, I'm taking it to like, you're pulling the punch, it's not lethally, but they don't know you've got this. Maybe they don't know you've got this. And all of a sudden you're inflicting massive amounts of damage with a pretty small stroke and putting the hurting on them in a way that it's definitely going to be a deterrent. Kind of like if somebody busts out the ever classic in American policing, the riot baton. This is the ASP version, so it's awesome, and I got this attachment. That I've used this on vehicles, I've used this on people, and it is, I would, although it's very much, I don't say it's all show no go, because it's got a lot of go. Like, you can definitely end someone with this, do a lot with it. It's very versatile. But when this comes out in any riot situation or temporary WROL situation or a situation where you're applying force, people they kind of take a step back, like all of a sudden you've got a huge reach, you've got a force multiplier, like whoa, like let me shake that out, the last 2 inches in a swing is gonna shatter bone that it comes in contact, meaning a strike to the skull with the end of this is, I would say, you're gonna be lucky not to. It's going to be career ending. Let's put it that way. That's a sanitized way of saying it. All I'm saying is that the riot baton is even has no low profile. It is totally out there. And when I was a kid, if I deployed it, I would even kind of momentarily like treat it like an Eskrima stick and kind of twirl it, and it, would flash underneath the people's headlights or whatever street lights. People would chill out. All of a sudden, it wasn't a good idea to continue the behavior. What I'm getting at is that those moments of surprise for low profile stuff like this one right here, this Kubaton, that element of surprise is going to translate into kind of a psychological multiplier where it's almost like when you surprise mace someone, and not just, I'm not saying just to assault someone, I'm saying that they are a threat to you. Things are to the point where it's not like, hey, step back, I'm gonna mace you. They're coming at you with intent, so you just mace them. That moment of pause and then they start screaming. If you ever do this, if you ever actually mace somebody, it's that registering of, man, like everything I thought that the way this was gonna go is now totally out the window. This is, the quote, everyone has a plan until they get punched. It was accredited to Mike Tyson. I think that was probably someone else. But these things, and this is the lowest profile thing. It's going to be kind of the same where somebody's coming at you, they grab your wrist, and you come down on their hand as hard as you can. You break some bones in their hand, and it is intense pain. I've had a buddy break their hand one time, drunk, swinging at one of those in a bar. That thing that you hit the ball, you hit the whatever it's called, the bag, and it flips back and gives you the score of your force. And he was like dead drunk, and he said it was extremely painful. It would probably be fight ending. Part of that is going to be, I didn't think that was a possibility. I wasn't mentally prepared to have my hands broken in this fight. So now I'm falling back. We don't really get into the headspace of panic very often, but that's where people start to panic. The role of aggressor and person self-defending is kind of switched. It's kind of a capitulation of power in the fight itself. And that's why things like Kubatons, be they high profile, low profile, or this red one that is kind of a little bit more anemic than these two, but in between would still be, very useful. That's where they really shine is, bam, we're changing the flow of force in the fight overall. Especially if you were to say you get in there and you end up busting a collarbone. I mean, that is going to be like next world pain. And this, that's why I'm sure you've all heard the phrase pain compliance. They're going to reassess. They might not be like, in their, thug grug brain, like grug hurt. Grug needs to retreat. It's going to be more of a, oh my God, because the pain is going to be blinding. And honestly, I could see if you broke somebody's bones with this, some of these things, they go into a shock. And that's not pretty. That can be, if you've never been in shock before because of a traumatic injury, it's not fun. And there are physiological things that happen that show you're in shock. They can range from immobility, you shit yourself, to the more classic, you turn gray, you're sweating bullets, you're in fight or flight mode. But the bottom line is, I think that at that point, you're probably not still, aggressing on somebody that just wrecked you. And that's where these little things come in really handy, especially one like this. This is only like $20, $25 from MILSPIN, where it's pretty much hidden. And say you're fighting and it's probably not broad daylight, because I guess it could be, but more often than not, I feel like these things happen at least around dusk. you're fighting, you've got this in your hand like this, this is still going to be enough to where you clothesline somebody, or whatever technique from whatever discipline you get somebody that's going to hurt. This is definitely going to hurt, and they're probably not going to see it, right? So definitely something to think about. That's about all she wrote for this one. Thanks for sticking with me to the end. Hope you folks have a good rest of your day. Bye now.